Okay, so once your loom is cut and ready to go, we are going to take our warp string. It's gonna be that long string, and that's how we're going to create our loom. So what I need for you to do is find your first little notch, okay? And then you are going to take the end of your long string, and you are going to tuck that string kind of down like that, and we're gonna leave this little piece hanging out in the back where our numbers are. Okay, so once you have that little piece tucked inside of your slit with your masking tape, you can tape that down so it doesn't pull out. Okay, so we're gonna tape that onto our first number, and this is what the front looks like. That string is taped in the back where our numbers are, and then it slid through that little slit, and now our string, all of our string is hanging out in the front. Okay, so it helps for you to look at it with this string at the top of your plate. So if this is a clock, this would be 12 o'clock. Okay, so with your string at the top, you are going to pull that string kind of tight. If you pull too hard, the tape might pull out, but we want to pull it pretty taut. Okay, we don't want it to be loose like this. Okay, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have to kind of flip back and forth because we want to find the number 8 slot. So it's right here. So I'm just gonna kind of pinch, that way I know which one it is. It's that guy right there. And with our string pulled kind of tight, not too tight because our plate might start to pull up some, but just with it tight, we're gonna slide that string down into that little notch, and it should be on your number 8 hole or your number 8 slit. Okay, so now we have a straight line across our plate, and this guy is on 8. Now from the back, now our string is hanging out back here in the back of our plate. We're gonna wrap it, and we're gonna go to our next number. We're gonna go from 8 to 9. We're gonna take this string and wrap it underneath that slit so it kind of forms a straight line here. So that's from our 8 to our 9. We're gonna put that string down in that slit. So if I turn my plate over, now my string is hanging out up here. Okay, so there was our 8. We slid it down and came back up through our number 9 slot. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cross over our first one so that it makes an X. Okay, again, you don't want your string to be loose. You wanna pull it kind of tight, but not too tight. So I'm gonna take it and make my X, and I'm gonna go down my very next slit. So here's my X, and I'm going to my next slit right here, and I'm going to tuck it down. And you really want to tuck it into that slot. That way if I turn my plate over, I am now in the number 2 slot. Okay, now we're going to go next door from 2 to 3 and do the same thing that we did for 8 and 9 by making a straight line and then tucking that string down. So we came kind of up through the 2, and now we're going down through the 3. If I turn my plate over, now my string is hanging out in the front of my plate again. I'm going to cross it again. Here's my string. I'm going to make another cross in the middle. And then I will go down my next slot, just like that. We want to make sure our strings are pretty tight, we don't want them to be loose like this. Okay, make sure they're pretty tight. And when I turn my plate over, I'm now on number 10. Okay, we're gonna do that same exact pattern for all the rest until we have our loom completely done. So if you're on 10, we have to make that straight line to connect to 11 and go down number 11, and then flip your plate back over. Here's my yarn at the top, and I'm gonna cross over the rest of my strings and go down my next slot. So I'm not gonna put it down here because I had skipped that one. So gotta make sure you're doing the very next one. Tuck it in that slit, flip your plate over, and now you should be on 4. We're gonna connect 4 to 5 with that straight line. Tuck it down. We went down 5. Flip my plate over. I'm gonna go down my next one after I make my cross. Flip it over. Now I'm on 12. I'm gonna connect 12 to 13 with that straight line. Tuck it down 13. Flip it over and cross. I'm gonna go to my next slit, stick it down there, turn it over. Should be on 6. Now I'm going to connect 6 and 7 with a straight line by tucking that string down there. So I went down 7. Now I'm here. Now we're getting pretty close to the end. We're almost done. So I'm still gonna go to my very next one. I'm not gonna go here. I'm gonna go to my next one. Right there, should be number 14. And so the very last number that we're gonna connect is 14 to 15 with that straight line on the back. Go down 15. And now you are ready to weave. So this string that you end up with is going to be the center, the very, very small center of your circle loom. So this last string, we need it to go here. Okay, but we're gonna weave it into our weaving. So what you're gonna do is we're gonna start on this string first. So here's my leftover string, and we're gonna start our weaving pattern on this string, and we're gonna go over, under, and we're gonna go through all of our strings. So I'll show you what that's gonna look like. It's very important that you start over. Okay, so I'm not gonna go under first, I'm always gonna go over first on this one. So here's my string. Okay, I'm gonna go over that one, and then under that one, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and then my last one will be under. And then what you can do is you can pull it. Okay, so I just pulled it until my last string kind of fell into place and is as tight as the other ones. Okay, so here's my string. I just went, my last one was under. You can kind of see that that piece of yarn is under. So it is under number 14. And this is where we're gonna continue that pattern. So if I last went under, my next one is going to be over. So I'm gonna go under, over, under, over, under, over. You can kind of see as I'm going along, I'm kind of turning my plate. That way I have my weaving, what I'm doing right in front of me. I'm not weaving like upside down. So let's see. If you ever forget where you left off of the pattern, you can look at the last string. So my last string is under this one. Can you see that? So I left off with this string going under. So to continue my pattern, I have to go over. I'm gonna go over, under, over, under, over, under. I'm gonna pull it. Now I'm not pulling too hard and I'm not pulling too fast because we want this string, what's happening is it's going around and around and around and around. So what's happening is our strings are pulling that circle part close in the middle. But if you pull it too tight, it will end up being too small to see where your pattern stops, okay? So I'm gonna pull that just a little bit, and I can keep weaving until I run out of this string. So I gotta check to see where I left off. This last one, let's look. This last string is under this one. See how it's under it? That means that my next one is gonna go over. So I'll go over that one, and then under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. I'm gonna pull that one. Okay, so I pulled it, and you can now start to see where that string is going around and around in a spiral. Okay, I'm gonna continue this pattern.